Welcome to Stone Talk, the podcast for countertop fabricators. Brought to you by Moraware, makers of job tracker scheduling software and CounterGo estimating software for countertop fabricators. I'm your host, Patrick Foley. Today I'm speaking with Chuck Russo, founder of BACA Systems. Let's give him a call.
Good morning, Chuck Russo.
Hey, Chuck, this is Patrick from Moraware. How are you doing?
I'm good, Patrick.
Let's jump in. If I'm looking at things correctly, it looks like you're a relative newcomer to the stone industry. Is that true? And what got you into this particular industry?
Yes, BACA Systems is new to the stone industry in the last 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Building robotic cutting systems. Our experience, though, for 25 to 30 years was specializing in robotic cutting systems for a variety of different industries. It just was not in the stone industry at the time. So that is correct.
And what made you want to enter the stone industry? Why this industry then?
I saw a lot of similarities to, we were very successful in the past since 1998, doing cutting systems, primarily WaterJet cutting systems, routing, sawing systems. They just were for different industries. And we had great success in those industries compared to the alternative technology that was being used. I'll refer to them as custom Gantry machines that were built. So we saw similarities in the stone market. That business we actually sold in 2006.
Oh, cool.
That business grew to be the largest three-dimensional cutting company in the world. Had in excess of 4,000 robots cutting that were sold and serviced. And so after that, we were looking at different industries to get back involved robotically. And I found the stone industry, really, I was looking at some different opportunities. And then I got introduced and learned about the stone industry. And after being to several shows, saw the similarity of custom-built gantry machines for this industry. And that saw the opportunity that, in our opinion, the robotic cutting system solution, the Robo SawJet, could be a much more cost-effective, smaller footprint, higher output, significantly greater increased reliability than the current machines that were being offered.
So I'm a software guy, so I don't know all the terms. Is the gantry, is that the thing that it's sliding? Explain gantry to me.
Yeah, when we refer to a gantry, you've got the motion system to position the saw or the abrasive WaterJet for a SawJet application. And so, when we refer to a gantry, we're talking about the motion piece, whether it's a 3 or a 4-axis machine.
Right.
And typically, right, we've got machines that have been built for the industry, whether they're manual bridge saws, whether they're CNC saws that are saw only, or then a combination machine that's typically referred to as a SawJet,
right,
or it's a saw and abrasive WaterJet. But the motion system is, typically done with ball screws or THK rails and bearings, versus how we're accomplishing that is by utilizing a Kuka robot, a 6-axis robot.
And so why is a robot better in your opinion?
We think that the robot has a lot of different advantages over the traditional equipment. First, it does allow for a smaller footprint, and floor space is very important to the fabricators in all businesses. But a lot of fabricators are looking to take out their current sawing equipment, have a more efficient machine, so floor space can be a consideration. And gears that are exposed to the harsh environment of the stone facility. And cost of ownership, and it's not just about the investment today, it's how much over the next 10 years are you going to have to put into the piece of equipment to keep it operating. And so robots for years have been known to be a very reliable solution. So the robot is completely sealed. There's no bearings. The harsh environment does have a significant effect, as we've found and a lot of customers have found on their gantries, that cause premature failures on components. So the robot is significantly more reliable. So from an operating cost standpoint, it's significantly less. Our experience also is that the robot can traverse from position to position significantly faster therefore reducing the cycle time as well. So really from our customers find that by utilizing a Robo SawJet over the alternative solutions is it provides for a smaller footprint, higher throughput, lower capital cost initially because the robots are built in high volume. It's not a machine that's built for 50 or 100 or 200. There's in excess of 20,000 robots produced by Kuka in an annual year. So it drives the cost down and provides for additional reliability for the customer. So, and then from a technology standpoint, when you have a variety of industries that are doing not exactly the same thing, but there's similarities, there becomes real benefits for different industries. For example, Kuka robots are used in the aerospace industry for Boeing and for Airbus. And so while it's not cutting, granite or quartz, there are cutting applications for carbon fiber that are going on. There's robots that are used, Kuka robots in the wind energy business, and again, cutting applications. Siemens uses the same robot, and there's over 1,000 robots for surgeries that are being done by Kuka. So all these different applications do have synergies and similarities. So the software and the technology that's developed can be shared across a wide variety of industries. So it brings technology to the market faster and also driving costs down.
So this is what you're talking about. The alternative is a custom-built gantry, meaning it's because that's not relatively mass-produced the way a robot is, it's going to cost more and just have the additional issues of variability that arises when something is custom-built. I didn't realize that.
I think that's true. In our opinion, that's very true. Even the guys do a great job in that business building those machines, but it's a completely different style machine that's built. And the benchmarks and the requirements, for instance, when you go into a Mercedes-Benz plant and you'll find 4,000 robots that are Kuka, the demand for the uptime and the reliability that's pushed down from high volume producers like that, it drives those manufacturers to align with certain suppliers, whether it's a servo motor manufacturer, electronic boards. The requirements are just far more stringent that are put on Kuka, to produce a product to do that. For example, when you take an automotive line, even though we're not processing stone in the automotive line, the requirement that is demanded by Kuka for mean time between failure, how often a unit would fail over the life of the machine, or the maintenance that's required is significantly different. Another good example would be on the Kuka robot. Literally, the maintenance is you change the oil in 5 years or 10,000 hours. That's the maintenance on the robot versus, a gantry that in this environment, the manufacturer may call out for you to pull the bellows back, wipe the rails down, you're greasing more often, there's just continual maintenance, where you can imagine that drives that is in the automotive. When you have 300 machines on a line, they don't want to be out there doing maintenance daily, weekly, monthly.
Got it.
They won't tolerate it. And again, literally you can submerge the entire arm that we utilize. And when I say the arm, I'm talking about the 6-axis Kuka robot.
Right.
It's completely sealed and pressurized. So you can submerge it literally underwater and operate the upper arm. So significantly a different type of motion solution.
So you don't even have to grease it on a weekly or even yearly basis. Just 10,000 hours or 5 years.
Yeah, there's two. It's the maintenance, and you change the batteries for cool. The backup on the controller. So significantly different. So the customers that have been operating them, and Kuka robots have been being used, hundreds and hundreds of robots by Kuka, in the stone industry over in Europe. But in the U.S., we're seeing a lot of customers, finding the benefit of that. Now, and for BACA, really, we have a lot of customers. A significant amount of our customers actually have experience with the other equipment. Mm-hmm. And because of the reliability and they're looking for higher throughput, have been purchasing Robo SawJets from BACA.
Now, the serviceable parts on the cutting side would be the same or similar, right? I mean, you still have to.
They are similar. You're absolutely right. You've got the motion side, and I would break that a SawJet into two pieces primarily. Well, actually, let's talk about it in three areas. You've got the motion piece that we've spoken quite a bit about, and it's done with the Kuka robot. And then you have the process side. We're running really a proven 20 horsepower Sakaro motor that we do the cutting with. But then on the abrasive WaterJet cutting, BACA and the team members at BACA have been doing WaterJet cutting since the late 1980s. So we're very, very knowledgeable about WaterJet cutting. In fact, a lot of the applications that BACA, at the prior company that most of the people had worked at, those companies were running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, producing components, running WaterJet cutting machines. So we were very focused on the operating cost of the WaterJet equipment. And there is a significant difference between manufacturers, the components, how the technology is applied. So BACA has significant experience and truly has the lowest operating cost on the high-pressure WaterJet side than other manufacturers and what's supplied.
Cool. I see you also use a two-table system by default. Why is that important?
I wouldn't say by default. I mean, we do, and most of our customers, I would say 98%, purchase the dual table. And the reason why they buy the dual table is it really allows you to double your production. Once you're done cutting the slab, and obviously the reason why customers move to SawJet technology is the benefit of increasing your material yield, reducing your material cost, cutting all your arcs, your radiuses on most materials, even cutting your sink openings, and really reducing your downstream manufacturing cost of all those secondary operations. So literally the pieces come off ready for profiling, and it's a significant reduction. So once you cut the pieces, you've got to be able to load and unload the table and remove your scrap. And by having two tables, we can be processing on table one while we're loading and unloading. So we eliminate the idle time during the load and unload. We'll call it masking, the manufacturing process. So that allows you to, be processing an entire slab anywhere from 14 to 20 minutes while you do the load and unload, and then the robot just turns around and starts processing again because the other part is already loaded. So most customers want that benefit. You can start with a single table and then have the ability to upgrade to a second table. So there's lots of advantages if you want to have a scalable machine as well. But again, because of the cost base, we can be very competitive with a dual table system, still within almost the footprint they've been running a manual or a CNC saw.
Right. So
most customers do move right into a dual table. The ones that don't may be very, very tight on floor space. That's probably the reason why they may not buy a dual table.
Now, saw one of your customer videos, and your customer referred to your robotic system as being different from CNC, and it sounded like you just did as well. I mean, this is still CNC in that it's computer numerical control, isn't it? Or is it robotic means not CNC?
Yeah, I think the term that people refer to as digital, it's not, typically robots aren't referred to as CNC. And that really has to do with the G code of the programming.
Okay.
So we're, the third piece that I didn't mention is then the operating system. How easy is the machine to use? So we're not using CAM software. It's a PC-based operating system that makes it very easy for the customer to be able to program the system.
So tell me about the supporting software. I see that you have Vein Match and Granite Studio. First of all, just at a high level, what do those two pieces of software do?
The vein match is what allows you to actually, as we know on different materials, we have the material flow. And typically when we're trying to match veins on the other type of equipment, being a CNC saw, that maybe you're not taking a calibrated photo of the material and being able to take a DXF file of those different individual pieces and actually put them together and see them on the side of the screen. So you literally can visualize and see the kitchen, see how the material flows together. You can use that as a tool in the sales process so that instead of the customer looking at it and saying, well, how will the vein flow through where my seam is going to be or where the material turns in the kitchen, you can actually provide that to them as a drawing. And they can actually sign off on that if you choose to conduct your business in that manner. So it's very beneficial from a sales tool. It allows you to certainly be able to show a customer a complete layout, have a sign off on a job, And so the vein matching is very, very helpful versus doing it by eye.
Okay.
And so even if it's on a single slab, instead of a bookmark slab, you can actually go down and find another vein that is similar and actually match them and really improve the material flow on the project. Granite Studio is actually a standalone photo station that allows you to take your photos in advance. You can do the vein matching either right out on the system, right in production, or you can have a separate photo station where you're actually taking photos in advance and doing this work prior. And so it doesn't then interrupt then the production of the machine.
Got it.
So we have our own vein match software, but we also work very closely with Slabsmith, which is another manufacturer, which is commonly used in the industry. So we integrate with our own software, but also with Slabsmith, who has a terrific product in the industry as well.
Right. And so you said it's not CAD or CAM software, but I mean, if you already know how to use that software, is this similar enough that it's easy to set up?
Well, if you already know how to use that software, it just doesn't require it. So if you're training a new operator, it's much easier than somebody having to have that experience as well.
And what about CNC routers and things like that? I see this is on the cutting side. Do you also offer a robotic router, or is that something that's in the works, or that's not something that's in your wheelhouse?
No, actually, the folks at BACA, have a lot of experience in routing cutting systems as well, and we think those are great opportunities. And we think that the stone industry and the manufacturing of solid surface materials has a lot of different opportunities and applications for Kuka robots and for BACA to apply their knowledge. So certainly there are more applications that BACA is working on, yes.
Cool. And so with what we have today, though, let's say I'm a fabricator and I've been doing everything manually, and now I want to automate. I could start with a SawJet, or I could get a CNC router, or I could get a line polisher. Do you have an opinion on why you should start with one or another of those three options? Ultimately, why should I start with a robotic SawJet, or should I?
No, it's an excellent question. We have a lot of people asking us that, and we do see a trend with client, and to visit BACA and evaluating what is the next technology that they should purchase. I think one of the key things is, in our opinion, it all starts at the saw. The saw can either be the bottleneck for or it can actually, and it also can create so much work downstream if you're not using a SawJet-based solution. So in our opinion, and again, that has to do with really being able to process as much as possible right at the sawing operation. And that is to be able to cut all your arcs, all your radiuses, eliminating the secondary sawing by hand, eliminating even after you saw your arcs and radiuses, and you still have to clean those areas up before you're going to profile, whether it's on a CNC or by hand. And so, as well as the sink openings that can be cut right on the SawJet.
Yep.
So when you look at reducing labor and reducing the man hours that go into producing a kitchen, the benefit of being able to get a job done with two slabs and not move into the third slab, and maybe save, if it's a job that has higher end material cost, anywhere from $700 to $1,200 on a single job, because you don't move into that third slab, or you get the job done with one slab. That happens all the time by using a Robo SawJet. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at the return on investment, being able to do that, I just don't know that by profiling and polishing on a CNC, you can accomplish the same thing on a specific project. So having material yield savings on every job you do is significant. Reducing the man hours that goes into cutting the slab, which also reduces your downstream manufacturing, is significant. So I don't know of another piece of equipment that allows you to, for instance, cutting two slabs on average, and every plant's different, but on average, if you take two slabs and you take your load and unload, your layout time, your cutting of the slab, the material yield, and then your secondary work of, again, cutting the arcs, cutting the radiuses, doing the sink, and you total all of that up to do two slabs. You can be 2-3 hours a slab, so you've got 6 hours of labor that goes into cutting two slabs, as well as the downstream manufacturing. All that work can be done in 40 minutes with a Robo SawJet on two slabs. and then having the higher material yield savings. So, we hear from a lot of customers that they find that the best and single most important way to increase their profitability in their plant is to implement a Robo SawJet.
Nice.
And then they find also that taking that and going right to a line polisher is very cost effective. Still, there's the need for the CNCs, but I think those are two of the very, very important pieces of equipment in the facilities.
If you had a customer who was using your SawJet and they asked you about, hey, who should I go to for a line polisher? Is there someone you'd recommend, or?
Oh, I think there's several very good manufacturers that make line polishers.
Okay. Now, by the way, before I forget, you mentioned your robots are 6-axis. Does that allow me to tilt the blade and cut a miter at an angle into the stone, or some other way, or tilt the table so that I can accomplish a miter?
No, you would. If you're going to do mitering, you can tilt the saw blade to be able to do mitering.
Cool.
The model that we have out today, most of the customers are not mitering with the Robo SawJet.
Why not?
A lot of the customers are looking for, when we're mitering, we're typically, first of all, when somebody's running the Robo SawJet, they're looking for high output. They're really blanking out the material. Not every customer is doing mitering. Okay. If they are, a lot of them have other equipment that they also have in their facility. And when a WaterJet table is not a flat surface, over time when you're cutting, the slats end up on not flat, the material's B-side down. So when you have your stack up, you have variation in the material. Now you can probe the material and be able to do an offset for the material not being completely flat. But you're using a blade that's really made for speed, for saw cutting, not a blade that's, the ideal blade that would produce minimal chipping. So some customers, choose to actually do the mitering as a second step.
Huh. Okay.
But there's different robot work envelopes, larger robots that can allow you to do the mitering and have the work envelope needed. So it's really customer preference.
Interesting. So let's talk about how you fit in a little bit. This is a competitive space. How do you try to distinguish yourself from the competition just from a branding perspective? What's special about BACA Systems? Just if you met someone at a cocktail party who was considering 3 saws, why, what's in a statement? What do you think it makes BACA Systems the one they should go with?
Well, I assume you're asking specific to the difference about BACA in regards to they're already have made their mind up that they're looking at a SawJet-based solution.
Right. Yeah.
So the customers already realizes the return on investment for running a SawJet. The reason why companies look to BACA today, we have the smallest footprint, highest output, highest reliability in a system, and the operating cost at that point becomes really the WaterJet cutting technology, and we have more experience, in our opinion, than anyone else that's applying SawJet solutions that understand WaterJet and are focused on the operating cost of the system, short-term and long-term for our customers.
Nice. And I know service is important to people. So what about service? If something does break, how do you deal with it? What can a customer expect?
Sure. It's extremely important. And certainly, in the other company that I had mentioned, service is always important to all customers. And we had customers that ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we have, our own hotline and are able to support the systems through actually seeing the operation of the system, be live with our customers, troubleshoot, answer questions immediately, which it's more about how do I do this feature, something maybe that they learned in training that they need to be refreshed on. So we're able to do that immediately and provide service. We service the entire system from the high pressure to the complete motion side. We have service technicians that are across the country being partnered with. We're actually Kuka's exclusive partner for America. And being able to work with Kuka, we have service technicians from the West Coast to the Southeast, to Texas, to the Northeast. So we have local people if, in fact, there is a need.
Cool. And what's your strategy for growing your business, for adding new customers? How do you find customers and, how do you handle the sales process?
Well, for growing the business, we have a lot of customers. As large as the industry is, it's a small industry that people really know each other. Today, BACA, receives a lot of phone calls from other folks that are, in with their other associates they know in the industry. They see the Robo SawJets. We have systems across the country today. So we continue to grow through really opportunities of customers talking with their other peers in the business. We obviously go to the trade shows and have a lot of interest from the trade shows, and customers visit and then better understand the technology, and get educated. And that's really our job, is to make sure we can share the information with potential customers so they have really all the background information to make an educated decision.
And I see, I have to call out because it's kind of interesting. On your website, you have an offer: fly to Detroit at our expense. We invite you to see the system in action for free. That's a kind of a pretty aggressive offer.
Well, again, I think it's exactly what I had just stated, and that is that, we want people in the industry to better understand the technology, understand the differences and what it can do for them. And the best way to demonstrate that and show that is to have them be able to come in and see firsthand.
That's cool. So let's end on a bit of a chin-stroking question. There's probably a future element to this. I've been interested, as I go into shops, how customers deal with problems of safety and even things like noise. Any equipment is going to make some sound. It's the nature of the equipment. How do you participate in thinking about these problems and making improvements on that? Because again, you can't completely get rid of noise, and you can't have a 100% safe product. How do you think about it and improve that going forward? How do you look for opportunities there?
Well, there are a couple areas, and you're right. And there's certainly the decibel level that exists already in the plant from other processes that are going on. So there's a couple of things. You've got the abrasive WaterJet, that there are different means of diffusing the dB level. At times, you could consider raising the water over the material. There's pluses and minuses with that, having baffle systems in the tanks to do that. Most of the people in the industry find not cutting underwater, but having the water table up as close to the part is adequate to accomplish really the dB level. From a safety standpoint, we do supply, different than some other machines in the industry. We do supply guarding that surrounds the system, allows you to be, again, loading and unloading on table 1 while you're cutting on table 2. But if, in fact, you were to reapproach that table and then go past the safe zone, the machine actually stops.
Oh, wow.
And then
That's
you just
cool.
have to hit resume to start. But we really don't want to have our customers have their operator up at the table when the robot is processing on the table. We're on the other machines that are out in the industry. There's quite a few of them that you can actually go right up and have your hands up on the table and be working on the table, reaching around, the safety device they may have. But, that's not something that we're doing. We're providing a completely guarded system.
I'm glad I asked that question. That's an interesting answer, actually. I value fingers, so I prefer people don't lose them.
People never want to get hurt, and certainly the owners of the companies don't want their employees to be injured. But what I think we've all seen is somebody thinks they're doing their company a favor when they see something happen. They reach back up onto the table to take a piece out or a piece of moved, and by reaching up there, all of a sudden the machine comes over and an accident happens, and we're not in the business of getting people hurt.
That's awesome. Well, this was super interesting. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and share this with our audience. And again, I didn't know the difference between robotic and gantry systems, so this was eye-opening to me. And I also agree that education is key, so I hope a bunch of different people hear about this option and make informed choices as they go in this type of direction.
Yeah, we're absolutely happy that you called to have us be able to share what BACA is doing, and we're excited about the industry. There's lots of opportunities. Robotics are from all types of industries. As you Google Kuka Robotics and you look at the work they're doing, again, in the aerospace field and in the automotive robots and freezer applications at 20 below. It's very interesting, all the different applications that are being done worldwide and will continue to be done. So there's great opportunity for Kuka robots and BACA systems in the stone industry, and we're very happy to be participating.
Very cool. Well, thanks again. And if you have any updates, let us know, and perhaps we'll have you on again in the future.
Sounds great. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot, Chuck. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Stone Talk, the podcast for countertop fabricators. If you liked this episode, be sure to visit stonetalk.org or subscribe to Stone Talk in iTunes for more. Visit the Stone Talk Show Facebook page to join in the conversation and follow @Stone Talk Show on Twitter. Stone Talk is brought to you by Moraware, makers of job tracker scheduling software and CounterGo estimating software for countertop fabricators. I'm your host, Patrick Foley, and I look forward to spending time with you again on the next episode of Stone Talk.